Welcome everyone to the September monthly members meeting. I always say that backwards, the members monthly meeting, but as long as we get the 3 M's in there, I think we're okay. This is the September meeting. We didn't have one in August, so I hope everyone has had a very successful last 2 months. And now we're going to pick up as we're towards the end of the calendar year. My name is Dwight Mahalitz. I'm the immediate past chair of CMCGI. I'm your host for today, and we have a very exciting agenda lined up for you. We're going to start off by having an overview from Tamara, of course, our chair, as we always do, and then Tamara is going to lead us on a discussion on an overview of the CMC Global Institute's committee work, because the committees exist to serve the members, and as this is our member forum, it would be great to get your input and your views, and for you also to be aware of the various activities that are going on. We'll then move on to the CMC Global Conference. Those of you that logged on before the hour will have heard us chatting a little bit about it. It was a great event, and I'll bring you some highlights on that. Tamara was there as well, so she and I will support each other in both of these presentations. And then finally, our Meet the Board member, Tamara Abdul-Jabbar, our chair, will introduce herself. She had the opportunity to do that very early this year, but we had problems with the recording on that version, so we've asked her if she would do it again, and she's agreed to do that. I do hear a bit of feedback, so if I could ask everyone to please mute their microphones unless they're speaking. Otherwise, we start getting difficulty in terms of all of us hearing. So I will, with that opening remarks, Tamara, I'll hand it over to you for an overview of catching us up to date on what's been happening over the last couple of months.
Thank you, Dwight. Well, it's been quite a busy couple of months. Like Dwight mentioned, we've had our annual conference and the meeting of the delegates in Astana last week. We'll talk a bit more about those, but it was very interesting meeting potential members from several countries, meeting existing CMCs and delegates from the other countries, sharing a lot of experiences. So that was great. Before that, the board was busy on working on our strategic plan. We still have some work to do on that, so hopefully we'll be sharing with you some updates very soon. Additionally, we've been working on developing our membership base, so very soon we'll be welcoming members from new countries. And hopefully those will bring in more experience and more stories to share with us at CMCGI. Thank you, Dwight.
Okay, thank you very much. We had put in some slides here as well, just to remind us all about our role in terms of CMC Global Institute. We are a virtual institute. We have 48 sister societies around the world. Another member institute joined over the last few months. So there are now 49 in total. All of the gold spaces are those sister institutes, and we are in the white spaces. And you can see 2 of these are in blue, Moldova and United Arab Emirates, because we have more than 3 CMCs in each of those 2 countries. So our goal is to fill up the map in blue with CMCs from around the world, so we can all collaborate together. The other quick update is just to remind us all of our vision. So you see that there. So our parent body has the vision that we will be the leader as an organization in the development of management consulting as a global profession, and that drives social and economic success. So I think this is a good message for all of us as we go forward. And Tamara will be getting back to us soon. There's some work now to simplify our mission statement, which you see in front of you. These slides will be distributed to all members after this meeting, so you have a chance to look at that more closely then. So with those few slides, I'll turn it back to you, Tamara, to lead us on a bit of a discussion in terms of GI working to serve its members.
Thank you, Dwight. As you all well know, CMCGI is a volunteer-based organization, and we have a board that's partly operational so far. So the board members are actually driving the strategy. They're driving most of the operational work of the organization through their direct work or through the committees that they lead. and those committees are staffed by volunteers. We're always looking for additional volunteers to pitch in and help us for more value to you, our members. We're also looking, in addition to the volunteers on the committees, we're also looking for members to volunteer as mentors. So some of you who have recently gone through the CMC process know that as CMC candidates, there's a lot of handholding that's always needed to complete the paperwork that's needed throughout the CMC certification process. And mentors are always helpful as big brothers and big sisters to help those newcomers to the certification process. In addition to all that, we're also looking for CMC assessors. So we're looking for those experienced CMCs who are willing to assess CMC candidates and take them through our oral assessments under the guidance of our certification chair, Basanta. In the following slide, I believe Dwight will be showing us the different committees that we have. So just for you to understand the structure of CMCGI, we have the board and chair, which provide direction and leadership to the organization. We report directly to the board of ICMCI. And under the board, we have several committees. One is Marketing, Communications, and Advocacy, which is led by Jennifer Bartman. The other is Certification, which is led by Dr. Basanta Chase, and the Membership Committee, which is led by our colleague Harold Schroeder. Professional Development is led by John, and Governance is led by Dwight. Governance is where Dwight works on our succession plans, on developing and recruiting new board members. Professional development is where John is helping us all with professional development activities, training courses, possibly some special webinars on very specific topics to help us develop our capabilities and also collect points that go towards our recertification as CMCs. In the membership committee, Harold is in charge of welcoming and nurturing our members, ensuring that our members are networking together, sharing opportunities. Basanta, as our chair of certification, is responsible for making sure that our CMC process proceeds smoothly. She has another hat, which is the registrar, where she is in charge of reviewing our membership applications and admitting new members who qualify under our different membership categories. And in marketing and communications, Jennifer is responsible for spreading the word about GI, attracting new members, developing new countries. And this is, I have to say, is not an easy task because of the large geography that we're covering. It's very difficult for us to have a direct relationship in each of the countries. So again, we rely on our members, we rely on other members from ICMCI to help us develop those various countries. So in each of those committees, we're always looking for new members, new volunteers who would help us do the work involved and bring in fresh ideas and views towards how we can improve things, how we can do things better. So I welcome you, all of you who are interested in volunteering for those committees to inform either Dwight or myself so we can connect you to the right chair and hopefully get you more involved with GI work.
Thank you very much, Tamara. That was an excellent overview. I would really like to open it up now for questions or discussion. Has anyone any questions about what Tamara said, or any volunteers in terms of getting more closely involved in terms of helping us to do what needs to be done for our institute?
Valerio looks like he's interested to volunteer, so I'm hoping he'd say yes.
Well, hello to everybody.
Hi, Valerio.
I was the first one, and then I had to do some other things and just joined. I hadn't a chance to see the entire presentation, but to answer the question, yes, I am trying to help every time it is required. So.
I have to tell you, Dwight, I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but Valerio was very instrumental in helping us with the candidates, with the colleagues from Moldova. He's even helping Basanta translate our documentation, our material into Russian to make those more accessible to those colleagues.
Wow,
We really appreciate this, Valerio.
I'm here to support.
Yeah, thank you. That's amazing. Really appreciated.
Yeah.
Excellent. So let's so that kind of support is very much appreciated, because what it does is it helps us all to collaborate and to make our institute better, and all of us as a management consulting family to do better work. That brings us to the next part of the agenda, where I have an opportunity to give you an overview of the 5th annual CMC conference and our annual meeting of delegates. So to begin, thought I would start with the annual meeting of delegates. Also to let you know that Tamara was there. So Tamara, if you have anything you would like to add as I'm going through, please do jump in. And Tuya as well, you were there for these meetings. So if you have any comments that you would like to make, I would be very happy for you to jump in. The conference was held from the 4th to the 6th of September. The 4th and 5th were our annual meeting delegates. This is where delegates from all of the IMCs around the world come together once a year, and they elect the board of directors, and they approve major governance documents, and they also spend one day talking about how better to collaborate and how to use our resources to advance the profession of management consulting. Our delegate from CMCGI was Tamara, so she was there in voting capacity and represented us very well in terms of the meetings. This was some meetings can be controversial because some members want us to go in one direction, other members want us to go in another direction. But in this case, having just approved a strategy in Toronto last year, there was none of that at all. It was all talking about how we can work together and how we can improve our practice. So it was really quite exciting, and some of this is going to have a major impact on us at GI in terms of how we as members can improve our services. The primary discussion was around ISO 27700, which is a new standard just approved this past June for the standards of management consulting. It's a guideline in terms of us not being able to certify people against it, but it is a guideline which our competency and our framework to become a CMC meshes incredibly well. In fact, the CMC standard was used as a basis for this, and CMC Global volunteers led this initiative of ISO 20700. So coming up will be guidelines from CMC Global to help us institutes in terms of how we as members can promote that we are compliant with ISO 20700 on our business cards, in our websites, and in the projects that we do. So that's really exciting. The second thing that we talked about that has an impact on, yes?
If I might interrupt. Another thing that included in the toolbox that ICMCI is developing is a self-declaration form where we can sort of use it to assess how we're meeting the standard and be able to develop those areas that might have some gaps. Our board member, Robert Bodenstein from Austria, just won his first contract with a client where he's delivering the work according to the ISO 27700 standard.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'll pause at the end of each one of these for you to add. I should have not just run on. In terms of the CMC firm, this is taking these the assessment and certification of individual management consultants up to the next level. So there are firms which would be small to mid-sized firms that are located in countries that would appreciate being able to reach out and identify other like-minded firms in other parts of the world for joint projects or to help on for resources. So in the same way, we as CMCs know that if we run into another CMC in another part of the world, that we both adhere to the same standard of work. The CMC firm in that same way will provide a network at the firm level. So each CMC firm that applies will be assessed. It must have a certain minimum number of CMCs within the firm at the individual level, but then overall it will gain once approved, once it passes the assessment process to become a CMC firm. So this will be available on the white spaces in our map to consulting firms that would like to achieve this designation. Anything more on that one, Tamara?
No, thank you.
Excellent. The CMC Global Registry is a registry that will be implemented during calendar year 2018. We've been poised to implement this, but have needed to put our banking systems in place to allow for electronic deposits. And this will be a registry, excuse me, managed by CMC Global, excuse me, gosh. And at CMC Global, for all certified management consultants that would like to register with them. And what this will do is provide a global network where we can have direct contact with certified management consultants in other parts of the world. There will be benefits to being part of this in terms of being able to build collaborative projects, but also over time we want to make this visible to global clients that might want to reach out to CMCs in different parts of the world. So I'm really excited about this one. This one we've been dreaming about for years, and it's finally going to come into fruition next year. And then the final point on this slide is that the CMC recertification which was approved in Toronto, will be implemented this year. And CMC Global Institute does comply with this recertification, but up until now, it has been a best practice that management consultants who have the CMC designation recertify every 3 years. Now it's required. So our brothers and around the world have agreed that in order to maintain our standards, there are certain things that we do need to do and prove that we're doing, that we're maintaining our competency levels as we were when we were assessed. So you'll be hearing more and more about the recertification program of the Global Institute, which is completely compliant with the global recertification process. The last 3 points I want to make, the next 2 points I won't spend too much time on, but just to let you know that the CMC Global finances are in good shape and that the 2017 through 2019 budget was approved as submitted. So this is the financing that we as GI help to support our global parent body. And then a lot of time at the meeting was spent talking about value-added activities of the CMC Global Secretariat. So how can we gain the best? And of course, GI has a very very close relationship with our secretariat, and we work together very, very well. So those are all the summary points I had for the annual meeting. Anything I might have missed there, Tamara?
I just have a few points from the conference itself that I'd like to mention. Okay,
good. So I'm coming up to the conference next. So jump in anytime. I've got a few slides on those, but I only picked bits and pieces, so I'm sure you'll have a different viewpoint you can add on. So this was an amazing place to go for a conference, to Kazakhstan, one of the largest geographic countries in the world. I think it was 9th or 10th. I can't remember the exact number in terms of size. But it was, just the hosts were amazing, and we had an amazing time with them. It started off on September 5th with a pre-conference tour of Expo 2017, and they also made available sites to visits to local based organizations. The first day of the conference was focused on the provision of information to us, and this was very helpful in terms of hearing about the perspectives from client organizations, but also sharing information from consultants to other consultants in terms of best practices and how we can build these bridges amongst each other. At one of the breaks, they had a speed dating session. I was preparing for another session, so I didn't get to take part in that, but I'm not sure if you did, Tamara, but where consultants would sit at tables and then others could go around and meet with potential consultants and learn about the services and knowledge that they had. And then there were sessions from EBRD as well. Sorry, Tamara.
No, I just wanted to say that the speed dating session was excellent, and I got to do my own version actually because I was networking from some potential colleagues from the UAE. So that was particularly interesting.
Oh, very good, very good. I wanted to just mention two of the sessions that others came back to me with in terms of feedback. One was for Francesco D'April. He's from Italy. Is a past chair of CMC Global, and he presented on communication consulting from the perspective of the importance of communication when you're working from one country base into another country. So his firm has major projects going in China. He's based in Italy, but building that business in China, and how you bridge the culture from one to another, and the importance of consultants to be aware of that. All of these presentations, by the way, will be on the CMC Global website. We'll have to send out a link to everyone because these are well worth looking at. And I really enjoyed his session.
One thing to mention is a lot of the pictures, the videos, some of the videos are included on the ICMCI Facebook page or Facebook group. So if you're not there already, please go in, like the page so you can have access to those.
That's a great point, yes. And people were very good about posting things there. And particularly you, Tamara, I saw a lot of them coming up, so that was great. And then I had a presentation as well in terms of the I used accountability culture as an example, but it's an example of many human conditions, if you will, in terms of best practices about how people do things and how people work in different ways. And part of the role of the management consultant is to be able to link into those best practices wherever they exist in the world and adapt them to the culture of the country or to the organizational environment or to the needs of the client. So we have an important role to keep abreast of all of these best practices. And not to say they don't apply in my country because we have a different culture, but in fact to figure out how we will go ahead and do that. Anything else on day one? I was going to move on to day two now.
Actually, in day one, we also have had two interesting talks from consultants who were brought in by EBRD. One was particularly interesting. It was on thought leadership and content marketing, which I think is very valuable for us as consultants. I'm sure that you've all been seeing the thought leadership activities that White undertaking, and I believe we all have something to contribute in that area. So they were talking to us about strategies and approaches to share more of our content online. The other session was on digital transformation strategies. So again, it was very interesting to try and think how the consulting industry can be disrupted with technology and online platforms. And by the way, this reminded me of a point I missed before. EBRD, UNDP, and similar organizations are very supportive of management consultants in different countries. And I know that some of you might have direct relationships to their representatives in your own countries. And I would greatly appreciate if you can continue to cultivate those relationships. Maybe we can support you in that, because they can help us fund different initiatives that aim towards developing and supporting management consultants.
Thank you. So on day two, the format was more round tables. So in the first session in the morning, there were 3 round tables. Then in the second session in the morning, there were 3 additional round tables. And you see the headlines here. The 2 that I received the absolute best feedback on were, although they were all good, they all had good information. But the academic fellows on management consulting development was a great presentation in terms of how our fellows, and we do have a group of 50 professors from different parts of the world that are on our academic fellow council, and they look at how they can collaborate to help us build our knowledge, our common knowledge for management consulting. And the discussion about consultants in the Kaizen consultants in terms of how consulting was focused in that part of the world was very, very interesting. But of course we can't all go to all of them because of these different approaches. Tamara, which ones did you go to?
Unfortunately, I had to miss all of these sessions because I was doing other work outside.
Okay.
So, but I heard the feedback; they were all amazing. And actually, the academic fellows is something that's particularly interesting to develop in our countries, and hopefully start looking for academic fellows who can join our base of actually 51 academic fellows that we currently have.
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I mean, for us as GI too, we should be able to recruit academic fellows to join those ranks for sure.
Exactly.
And again, these presentations are available on the CMC Global website. For the closing of the day, there was a session called the Knowledge Cafe, which was actually very interesting because it was a methodology where in very large groups you can share information in such a way that you can get it condensed down into 3 or 4 tables to make a presentation and a discussion. So I had the pleasure of being able to put that together with Valentina from Kazakhstan to work through how we would do that, and it worked really well. It was complex because we had some unilanguage Chinese speakers with some English, but not a lot. A lot of mainly Russian-speaking people, and then the rest were many different languages. We had representatives from 30 countries, but mostly in English. So figuring out how to get all that together and to do the translation at the same time was very interesting. But in the feedback, it was really intriguing and reinforcing to me that these 3 points, the communication, the collaboration, and the best practices came up over and over again as something that consultants really want to do. So how do we communicate better with us? With each other? How do we collaborate in terms of projects instead of compete with each other for projects? And how do we understand best practices, advance best practices, and share those best practices? So there is a role for our institutes in that, and there's also a role for our global secretariat in doing that.
Actually, for me, that was the most interesting session of all, because this was where we got to talk to each other. Dwight did excellent facilitation, and you're absolutely right. The language was could have been a barrier, but you found a good way to overcome that. And the outputs were some of the ideas were great. And if I remember correctly, we talked about how we can build on the CMC directory for us to identify consultants that we can collaborate with, hopefully include some of our client references on the CMC directory so we can understand the nature of the projects that each of us has conducted. People talked about showcasing success stories, and I believe that the best practice peer group that John and Otto started fits nicely into that. We talked about the Konstantinos Award, which is again a very interesting initiative or program that ICMCI has been organizing, and we talked about offering that award to a special category where consultants are collaborating on joint projects. We talked about cross-national research as another idea to bring consultants together to help them collaborate. So a lot of ideas. There's a task force at ICMCI level that's working on a consultancy readiness index that aims to gather information about the consulting industry in different markets. And I believe that this is another initiative that would bring us all together to collaborate better.
Thank you. It's really a very exciting time at CMC Global and in all of our institutes now. So thank you. That was great. Oh, and by the way, speaking of Facebook, I grabbed this slide from your Facebook page because I didn't have one on my own camera.
Excellent. Glad I could be of help.
So that brings us to the end of that presentation. Are there any questions about the information we've given you so far?
Actually, I have one point to add.
Mm-hmm.
So during the conference and the meeting of the delegates, it was announced that our next hub meetings The one for Asia and the Pacific will be taking place in Tehran, Iran in April 2018. The Europe Hub will be taking place in Kiev in May and June 2018. And our next annual conference will be in Milan in October 2018. We saw a lot of nice slides and the program looks really, really, really good. So everyone already started planning around that. The dates are 16th to the 19th of October. Believe me, it's going to be fun. So I recommend that you all book it on your calendars.
Thank you. That's a very, very important point to add. That's a great one. And I'm making a note, actually, we will add the date of upcoming meetings to the email when we distribute this video to all the members, because that is something, if there's one event that as a consultant you can attend each year for development, the conference would be it in Milan. They're going to show us a really good time. So it's central enough that most of us should be able to get.
Exactly.
Excellent. Well, so then what I'll do now, Tamara, is I'll stop the share. We'll move the slides to you, and you can introduce your firm. I'm looking forward to seeing this. And when we come back, there's a short discussion that we'd like to have with members as well about member benefits. So we can close out with that after your presentation.
Thank you, White. So. I hope you can all see my screen.
Yes, we can.
All right, so to give you a bit of a background about myself, I'm a certified public accountant from the US. I got that in 1997, and I became a CMC in 2008. I had started my company in 2002, so we've been around for 15 years. We've done a lot of work in the region in terms of CSR and building employability skills for university students. And as a result, I was recognized by Forbes Middle East as one of the 200 most powerful Arab women for 2014. That scared a lot of guys off, but no matter, it was good. I was also selected by Arabian Business in their list of Power 500, which is the most influential Arabs around the world. I was elected as chairperson for the IMC in Jordan in 2012 and stayed with them till 2014. Before that, I was a board member and treasurer. I was involved, thankfully, in the establishment of the Global Institute, and I currently chair, which you all know. I also co-founded Girls in Tech, the Jordan chapter, and serve as its chair. This is an organization that helps develop the entrepreneurial skills of girls who are looking to become tech entrepreneurs. And I was recently elected as board member and treasurer of the Business and Professional Women Association in Jordan. So I do a lot of work around women empowerment as well. Like I said, my company was started in 2002. We are a business and digital transformation consulting firm that operates in several Arab countries. We are present with offices in Jordan and the UAE, and most of our work currently is in Saudi Arabia. Very interesting place, not recommended for travel. What we do basically is deliver in strategy execution, so implementable strategies. We help our clients optimize their business processes and ensure smarter investments in technology. Through our partnerships with international consultants and subject matter experts, we bring best practices to our consultants and provide them with the software tools that help them ensure continuous improvement as an internal capability within the organization. So our services focus on strategy and innovation, process and architecture, and performance management. Under strategy and innovation, we do a lot of work around the balanced scorecard concept, business model camp, setting up of offices of strategy management. Under process and architecture, we help our clients in designing their business blueprints, re-engineering their processes, benchmarking those processes, as well as helping them in designing and implementing e-services, especially in e-government programs. Under performance management, we help our clients design their management reporting structures, build their management dashboards, and design process-based performance management, as well as do some work around activity-based costing. So we do help with the concept design, but we also help our clients realize those concepts through implementing the right IT system. And we also focus a lot on training and knowledge transfer to make sure that our knowledge is transferred to the internal organization and that they're able to sustain the continuous improvement efforts. This is a sample of the clients that we've worked with in the region. I know that they're not very relevant to all of you, or they don't click with you, but basically we've been working with large organizations, mostly banks, public sector organizations, in the various Arab countries. We've done work in interesting places like Libya and Sudan, thankfully before the war and the revolution. But we've also done work in very nice places like Lebanon, Palestine, and the UAE. And we're currently developing our practice to address smaller and medium-sized companies. So we're building frameworks of processes that are fit for medium and small-sized companies to help them develop their organizations in a short period of time. The philosophy of our work is basically built around this slide. So when we look at organizations, we usually see the senior management team, the leadership team that's in charge of developing the strategy for the organization, setting the direction, identifying the vision. And the second layer is the team that's in charge of execution. There's usually a disconnect between those two layers because one talks long-term, very high level, and the other talks short-term and very tactical. And bridging this gap between those two layers is by building an internal team that's in charge of BPM and strategy governance. So we help our organizations select the team members, train them, work with them to help in the strategy execution, in identifying best practices, designing business processes, simulating those processes, conducting activity-based costing, and selecting the right technology and IT systems to make sure that the execution is effective and efficient. This layer or this team becomes responsible then for the measurement of the performance within the organization to make sure that the designs we've set are actually implemented. They're taking the organization towards the strategy that it's set. We help them with benchmarking. And based on this performance management measurement work, we identify where there is room for improvement. So we get into process and strategy improvement and optimization, implementation and execution again, and then measurement. So we see this as a continuous life cycle. And this is why we encourage our customers not to depend solely on external consultants. They need to build this governance structure internally so that these people are able to liaise with the consultants and make sure they benefit from the consulting work. Another philosophy that guides our work is that strategy defines business processes and IT follows processes. I'm sure you all know that customers, especially the CIO function within an organization, always votes for buying new IT systems, thinking that this would transform the business and implement and execute the strategy of the organization. This is usually not the case. Organizations end up not making use of the technology they invest in. So what we preach is that organizations need to look at their strategy. From their strategy, they need to extract what their business processes look like, improve those processes, and based on the improved processes, they can select the right IT systems. And finally, we also always advise our customers, that they need to look at tools or building a knowledge repository within the organization. So again, we see clients working in different teams on their strategy, on their organization structures and job descriptions, on developing or implementing IT systems, hence their IT applications, on developing new products and services, someone else responsible for quality management, maybe some ISO certification, excellence awards, etc. And these are usually very distinct efforts within the organization. So they end up with replicating a lot of work, wasting a lot of time and money. And usually this work is inconsistent. So you see the documentation done by the quality people, very different from what IT people are doing and very different from what you have in job descriptions. So what we tell our clients is that they need to build a knowledge repository within the organization where they bring these aspects together and interlink them them, so that any change to the process, for instance, would automatically instigate change in the job descriptions or reflect changes on the IT systems. Hence, the effort would be very effective, and the knowledge would be always up to date within the organization. And that's pretty much what we do at Apollo Consulting. So let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Tamara. Actually, myself, as I told you earlier in a previous session, myself, I'm on IT as well, so we may have many common points.
Definitely. I look forward to explore those.
Yes, my team is specialized on information security and application security. So
excellent, excellent. We see a lot of demand for that in Saudi Arabia, by the way.
Oh, let us know.
Definitely, I will.
Well, in Moldova, we used to work with all the banks we have here. It's around 14. And, well, this is because of high level of regulation. So from central bank, they have a lot of requirements in terms of implementing information security management systems, auditing them, and as well doing so-called IT risk analysis. And
nice. Have you done any risk analysis work with non-profit organizations?
Well, no.
Okay, because that's something that I'm trying to develop these days.
Mm.
But definitely the bank's part is very interesting, so I'm sure that we'll be able to explore that very soon.
Yeah, that would be great. And I had a comment. I saw that you supported the girls in.
That's true.
So I don't know. We had some friends here. They are developing the same concept, but they call it Girls Go IT.
Okay.
And they are pretty successful here in Moldova. I know they have plans to extend, and it's a very, very interesting experience.
I would appreciate if you connect me with them, actually, because I'm sure that there's collaboration that we can build together. And
you continue with the Girls in Tech?
Yes, of course.
So I'll connect you with Mihaela and Abba. Abba is from Nigeria. He is based in Moldova for the last 5 years, and he started this project together with Mihaela Iurașcu, and they now are implementing, having support from UNDP, USAID, and things like this. So they are
brilliant.
I want to say that they are very successful in what they are doing.
Excellent. I would love to chat with them and learn more about what they're doing.
Okay.
Thanks, Valerio.
Hi, Tamara. It's Harold.
Hi, Harold.
I saw the list of the different logos of your clients, but you couldn't really see the details. How would you characterize your clients? What kind of industry sectors would you predominate in?
So most of the work we've been doing is with banks and public sector organizations. They're the largest spenders in this part of the world. We've done some work with telcos, with oil and gas companies, real estate development, manufacturing firms. But if I look at our clients list, they mostly come from the banking and the public sector.
Right. And what's, just to give a sense of order of magnitude around the size of the projects, is this the size of a house or a bread box or something in between?
With the banks and the public sector, they've been on the larger side. So we're talking about 200 plus K US dollars. And most of them, especially the banks, are repeat clients. So we've been working with several of them for several years now, especially, for instance, the Islamic Bank of Development, where they've been a client since 2008. And we always have ongoing projects with them. With the smaller and medium-sized organizations where we're developing our practice now, we're talking definitely about smaller projects. Right. So we're talking about something like 30 to 40 K US dollars.
And what's the typical duration of a project?
It depends on the project itself, but consulting approach depends on making the project short and sweet. So we usually target 3 to 4 months, okay. Because beyond that, the clients lose interest, the support goes down. So especially when it comes to ERP and e-service projects. So we try and target the 3 month to 4 month period for each of the projects.
And most of this is, understanding it, and if I'm wrong, most of it's around kind of ongoing operations and sort of being the interface between the business people and the techie people versus for example, a large ERP implementation or something of that nature.
We actually collaborate with some integrators who are doing the ERP implementations, whether we bring them on board or whether the client has them already. So we're there to bridge the gap between business and IT and collaborate with IT implementers to make sure that they implement the systems effectively.
Right. But around the large IT implementation, it would be the other consulting firm that does the PMO office or things like that.
Of course.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Will you be sharing your slides just as a memory reminder?
Do you want me to take you through them again?
No, just copies of them, just so I remember what you told us.
Yeah, of course. I'll be happy to share those.
Thanks very much, Tamara. I can make a PDF and circulate it with the video link.
Excellent.
Excellent, thank you. And I love that graphic, building the bridge, which is what my business is all about too, in terms of the strategy and the execution, and things go off the rails so much. So I love that graphic every time I see it. Thank you.
How did you pick the name Palma?
It comes from the palm tree, and we picked it because the palm tree is very important in this part of the world, and because we believe the palm tree uses very little resources to bring great value. So this is how we try and portray ourselves. With minimal investment from our clients, we bring them large ROI that helps them and brings them peace of mind.
Right, that's great, yeah.
And of course, Palma de Mallorca helps as well.
Well, thank you very much. We're coming to the end of this session. We did want to just put a couple minutes aside while we have you all on the screen. Can you see the little round table with our figures at it?
Yeah.
Very good, thank you. So just to, this is us virtually sitting around the table now, and I would really appreciate some feedback on these monthly members meetings, because we have been them for several now, and the attendance goes up and down over time. But from those of you that are on the line, I'd really appreciate your input in terms of what are your needs in terms of receiving communication from us and what we're doing? Is this something that's helpful, or is there something we can improve in some way to make it even more useful to you? Or are there mechanisms that we can use to communicate with you? So really appreciate that. So Valerio, I see your microphone is still on. Can I ask you what your thoughts are about this process and maybe how we might improve it?
Well, I find, just a general comment, I find these meetings very useful. At least, I don't know, the first thing is that the fact that we can meet periodically and exchange opinions. The second strong point to me is, for example, today's Tamara presentation. So to share the information about our competencies and to see whether we can, at a point in time, do some common job or to support each other in development. Mm-hmm. Maybe a good point would be to have I don't know, a doodle or kind of expression of opinions regarding the topics which are of interest, and this to be collected from the members. Mm-hmm. But in general, I'm very glad to be here, and I wait these sessions with enthusiasm.
Excellent, thank you very much. Tuya, I saw you took your microphone off. Have you something to add for us, please?
Yeah, it's been great session today. I really enjoyed all the presentations, and especially Tamara's company, Palma Consulting, is very interesting. And so thank you very much. And I've been fairly new to monthly meetings, and I think this is my second live attendance. But I will keep thinking about your question and make a contribution next time. However, it's been good so far, so good. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Tuya. I appreciate that. Veronica, have you any thoughts for us today? I noticed, yeah, yes, Veronica, go ahead. Your microphone is still on mute, I'm afraid, so we can't hear you.
Sorry.
There we go.
Yes. Me. Hello.
Hi.
Friends. Hey. Thank you very much for your presentations. Tamara is very good presentations doing, and I will be happy being in a conference in Astana, and it's very important for us, and we are needing supporting of ICMCI and of Soviet of ICMCI. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, I appreciate that. So this is very good. We're continuing to think out and reaching out to members in terms of how we can improve our collaboration and communication and means of exchanging with each other, because it is all about community and how we can support each other. So we will continue to work on that. And I know Harold, as the chair of our membership committee, is giving this a lot of thought. So he had asked if we could ask this question of you today. So I think that brings us to the end of the agenda. Is there anything else anyone wanted to raise, or any other closing comments anyone would like to make? Okay, we're just a few minutes ahead of schedule, but that means we can get ready for our whatever it is we're doing in the next hour. And I do thank you for your time today. Within the next few days, we'll circulate a video of this to all members, together with PDFs of the slides used, and we'll send a link to the CMC Global website where the conference materials will be posted, and one other link that we promised to send, which I've got on a note here somewhere, but we will do that as well. So thank you very much all. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Thanks everyone.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.